Last night, Caitlyn Clark announced she will miss the remainder of the W season. Clark hasn't played since July 15th, dealing with a groin injury. SA, your reaction to Caitlyn being shut down?
Let's find out what the rest of the WNBA is going to do in terms of popularity. You've been saying up and down that, whether tacitly or directly, that, she's getting too much shine, even though we respect and what have you. We deserve our shine. Well, now's a perfect opportunity for you to prove that.
Breaking news, hot off the press. Now, we knew it was going down earlier, bro. Caitlyn Clark has just confirmed she is out for the season. Now, where do we go from here? That is where we got to pick up the pieces, bro. He just went online and stated these things. Now, I dropped a video earlier today, kind of detailing everything, going over everything, and letting you guys know that I feel like the front office was doing a bunch of BS with us and not telling us exactly what was going down with Cece. I talked about it earlier. Scott Atkins is going to drop a video pretty much confirming she wasn't coming back.
Then are you willing to admit how stupid it was for y'all not to go all in to elevate Caitlyn Clark? And y'all could have reaped the benefits? Higher television ratings, higher attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't do it. You didn't want to, rather. You were a bit hesitant and reluctant and resistant to it. So much so you didn't push for her to be on Team USA. So much so you had people like Cheryl Swoops who didn't even want to mention her name.
Not surprising at this point, but still incredibly disappointing. Caitlyn Clark officially done for the 2025 WNBA season, as she and the Fever announced on social media. The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana.
I'm not going to be out there like RG3 was saying that Angel Reese hates Caitlyn Clark or other players hate Caitlyn Clark, but I will say this. I don't think it's specific about Caitlyn Clark. I think it's what Caitlyn Clark represents. See, it's through no fault of Caitlyn Clark. Caitlyn Clark balls. She balled at Iowa in college. She's balled since she's been in the NBA. She came into the league last year with no break whatsoever between the college game and the pro game and did her thing. Ended up as an all-star, ended up being fourth in the league in MVP voting, was the clear winner for Rookie of the Year. No competition whatsoever in that regard when it was really all said and done. We know what she brings to the table.
We have just received confirmation of the single most devastating news to hit the WNBA in its entire history. Last night, Caitlyn Clark, the Indiana Fever's prodigal rookie and the undisputed face of women's basketball, announced she will miss the remainder of the season. Her 2025 campaign is over.
But people wanted to hate because why? You had a bunch of players in this league that watched this young white girl come along and take the league by storm. And they resented it because they saw the marketing prowess that she had. They ignored the fact that you got chartered flights because of this girl. They ignored the fact that ratings were going through the roof because of this girl. Instead, they resented it because they said, yo, we were doing stuff long before Caitlyn Clark got here. And y'all wasn't paying attention then. But now, the young white girl comes along and y'all want to sit up there and shower all of this praise and all of this attention that was earned before she ever came along.
The player who, in just over 1 year, became the most popular and bankable star the league has ever known has been officially shut down. Clark hasn't played since July 15th, struggling with a lingering groin injury that has now, officially, ended her season. This isn't just an injury report. This is a 5-alarm fire. This is a metaphorical bomb dropped on the WNBA's new golden era. Just 72 hours after Caitlyn Clark announced her shocking exit, the WNBA has collapsed into chaos. Breaking news, hot off the press. Now, we knew it was going down earlier. Caitlyn Clark has just confirmed she is out for the season. Now, where do we go from here? That is the question the entire basketball world is asking. She just went online and stated these things. For months, the WNBA has been riding a wave of unprecedented hype and media attention, all of it, without question, driven by a single player. Now that single player is gone, and the panic is palpable. We have been told for years that the league has a deep well of talent, that it's bigger than any one player. We were told that Caitlyn Clark was just a rising tide that would lift all boats. Well, now that the tide has receded, the truth is laid bare for all to see. Viewership is plummeting. ESPN is scrambling. Advertisers are panicking. And Stephen A. Smith, the voice of the American sports media, just went off on live television, blasting Commissioner Cathy Engelbert in front of millions.
Golden child in her second year in the league, who was top 4 in MVP voting last year, the assist leader last year, a galvanizing talent that has done wonders for the NBA. If she is seen to be physically getting abused on a basketball court in a way that is such a clear and flagrant discrepancy compared to what happens to others, that man is not going to say something. They still had over 2 million views, but they had over 3 million last year. It dropped because she wasn't playing. Now, I told y'all, Candace Parker tried to tell y'all, Rebecca Lobo is trying to tell y'all, the goose that lays the golden eggs, the tide that lifts all boats. Do you know what Gino Auriemma said? He said she's being targeted. I don't remember when Michael Jordan came into the league, guys looking to go out and beat him up.
Fans are furious, players are divided, and the league is staring into the abyss of its biggest disaster in history. The moment Caitlyn Clark walked away, the league crumbled. The numbers don't lie. Games that were pulling in record-breaking viewership just weeks ago are now tanking to all-time lows. You have to ask yourselves, why is this happening? And why is no one in power taking responsibility? Enter Stephen A. Smith. He held nothing back. He demanded answers. He called it a failure of leadership and put Commissioner Cathy Engelbert directly in the hot seat. How, he asked, can you take the biggest star in WNBA history, the one person who carried this league to new heights, and treat her like she's disposable? Smith wasn't just defending Caitlyn Clark. He was exposing the WNBA's biggest mistake, a profound, almost willful, failure to protect the one player who single-handedly brought the league into the mainstream spotlight. He said it wasn't just about ratings. It was about respect. The league had no plan, no protection for Clark on the court, where she was targeted, shoved, and bullied. The golden child in her second year in the league, who was top 4 in MVP voting last year and the assist leader, a galvanizing talent that has done wonders for the WNBA, was physically getting abused on a basketball court in a way that was such a clear and flagrant discrepancy compared to what happens to others that Stephen A. said he had no choice but to speak out. He called out the blatant lack of a long-term marketing strategy, even as her games smashed ratings records. Instead of embracing Clark's star power, the WNBA, according to Smith, leaned into politics, jealousy, and silence. Veterans resented the attention she was getting. Coaches kept quiet while opponents went after her physically. And Commissioner Engelbert, she stood by and watched as the golden ticket to women's sports slipped right through her fingers. This isn't just a hypothetical problem. It's a real, quantifiable business disaster. The backlash has been explosive. Online, fans are vowing to boycott. No Clark, no WNBA has become the rallying cry. Parents who watched games with their daughters for the first time are now walking away. New viewers who gave the league a chance because of Clark are done. Ticket prices for All-Star Weekend in Indiana, which had been selling for over $200, dropped to under $60 overnight. Fans flooded resale sites, dumping tickets they bought months in advance because, in a matter of hours, their investment lost all its value. On ESPN, even commentators like Colin Cowherd, who have been big supporters of the WNBA, admitted he stopped covering the league the moment Clark was sidelined. He said flat out, Caitlyn Clark is the league. He asked viewers, how many times have you watched WNBA games since Caitlyn Clark got hurt? He pointed out that last year, her games led his show 6 different times. Now, he hasn't talked about the league at all. The momentum is gone. The trust is broken. The truth is undeniable. Caitlyn Clark didn't just boost the WNBA, she saved it. She was the heartbeat of the league, the one player who could pack arenas and put women's basketball at the center of the national conversation. And now, just days after her exit, the cracks are everywhere. The WNBA is in some serious trouble. But perhaps the biggest betrayal of all is emotional. Fans feel robbed. They feel used. And they have a right to be furious. We were told, day to day, that Caitlyn Clark was close to returning. We were shown clips of her practicing, giving us false hope. But behind the scenes, her body was a mess. It all started with a quad strain in May, then a nagging groin issue in June, and by July, it had turned into a full tear. Add in a bone bruise during her recovery, and her body simply couldn't take the abuse anymore. This is on your head, Cathy Engelbert, and the rest of the WNBA Players Association executive leadership, who failed to hold officials and players accountable for the barbaric style of play the Fever and Caitlyn Clark have had to endure this year. This is on the referees who swallowed their whistles while Clark was targeted, shoved, and bullied. This is on the league for prioritizing politics over the health of its biggest star. And it's on the team for stringing fans along, dangling her return in front of them just for more money and more ticket sales. Fans felt betrayed, used for every last dollar before the truth finally came out. Commissioner Engelbert had a chance to step up, admit her mistakes, and promise change. Instead, her statement read like a PR script. She spoke about league growth and perseverance, but took no accountability for the refereeing failures that left Clark unprotected. That disconnect lit the fire even higher. It became clear that this wasn't just an injury. It was the collapse of the WNBA's business model. But here's where this story becomes something more than just a cautionary tale. While the WNBA was collapsing, something incredible was happening with the Indiana Fever. In the shadow of Clark's injury and the league's panic, the team wasn't just surviving, they were evolving. The central figure in this astonishing rebirth? A quiet, relentless, and unbelievably tough player named Lexie Hull. Lexie Hull, you are one tough cookie. Get this, she walked onto the court with 2 black eyes from a brutal collision just a week earlier. By the time the final buzzer sounded in their game against the Chicago Sky, she had a busted and bloody lip, courtesy of Camila Cardoso. Bloodied, bruised, and battered, but absolutely unbreakable. While the rest of the league was in a state of chaos, the Fever, and Lexie Hull specifically, embodied the exact opposite. While the Sky were unraveling with Angel Reese suspended for her 8th technical foul, Hull became the living symbol of Indiana's fight. Her battered face was the image of a team that had found its identity without its superstar. For the first time all season, the Fever proved they could not just survive without Clark, but thrive. They built a foundation of toughness, balance, and unity. This isn't just about a good game. The numbers don't lie, and they tell a story of complete and utter domination. The Fever didn't just edge out the Sky, they destroyed them. They crushed Chicago by 20 points, completing a perfect 5-0 season sweep. The average margin of victory in those matchups? An incredible 24 points. That's not just winning, that's an embarrassing, season-long humiliation for Angel Reese's squad. The stat sheet from their last game tells the real story of their rebirth. They dished out 27 assists compared to only 9 turnovers. That's efficiency. That's chemistry. That's a team refusing to fold, even with half their roster missing. 5 different Fever players hit double figures. This wasn't about one star, it was about a balanced attack, about a team buying into a new system. And at the center of it all was Lexie Hull. She wasn't the leading scorer, but she was the warrior who played through a bloody lip and a bruised face, becoming the heartbeat of a roster that refuses to quit. Her defense glued the team together when so much else was missing. Her head coach Stephanie White put it best. She said Hull epitomizes exactly what the Fever want to be: resilient and fearless. And then, after the game, Lexie Hull looked at the reporters and said that every day, the Fever play for their injured teammates, that they fight together no matter what. In one sentence, she captured the identity of this entire team. Blood, bruises, toughness, and unity. That's the culture Lexie Hull represents. So, here we are. The WNBA had a golden ticket in its hands, and it tore it up. Instead of building around Clark, it chose silence, jealousy, and politics. Now, the fans are gone, the sponsors are nervous, and ESPN is panicking. The league is calling this a wake-up call, but let's be real, the damage is done. The trust is broken. And unless the WNBA finds a way to rebuild fast, it may never recover. The truth is undeniable. Caitlyn Clark didn't just boost the WNBA, she saved it. She was the heartbeat of the league, and now, just days after her exit, the cracks are everywhere. But while the WNBA is in freefall, the Indiana Fever have been reborn. They've built a foundation of resilience, balance, and trust. They've proven that they can not only survive, but dominate, even with their superstar sidelined and half their roster out with injuries. And here's the golden question, the one that should terrify every other team in the league. What happens when a healthy Caitlyn Clark returns to this version of the Fever? A team that has already proven it can win on its own suddenly gets their superstar back. That's not just scary for Chicago, that's terrifying for the entire WNBA. So, what happens next? Can the WNBA survive without Caitlyn Clark, or is this the beginning of the end? Stephen A. Smith made his position clear, leadership failed, and the league may not recover. But what do you think? Should Cathy Engelbert resign? Should ESPN pull back its support? Or is it already too late? If you believe Caitlyn Clark deserves better, hit that like button, subscribe, and join this community because we're not staying silent. And if you're still watching, drop Clark Strong in the comments to let the world know you stand with her.